Hello children, how are you all doing? I hope you are doing well and keeping safe at home. Myself, Divya Sharma from Shivjyoti Educational Group, Kota. Children, today we are going to read Chapter 4 of Social Science, Climate. Take out your books, Chapter number 4. Are you all ready? Let's start. In this lesson, you will learn about the difference between weather and climate, the factors that determine climate, the 3 heat zones of the earth. Now, children, you must have noticed that sometimes the place in which you live, the days are sunny, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes foggy and sometimes windy. What exactly do you think happens? Now, what changes is the weather of the place. That sometimes you see it's cloudy, sometimes sunny, sometimes you will see it's partly cloudy, sometimes it will rain, it snows in the hilly regions, sometimes storms occur, the days are windy. So these all are the changing weather conditions. Now, what is weather? Weather is the condition of the atmosphere at a particular place and time. Weather changes from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day or season to season depending on temperature, rainfall and wind conditions. Now, you must have noticed sometimes the place in which you live, it's a sunny day and sometimes in a year you will find it is a foggy day. Well, as I mentioned, usually the sunny day represents that the temperature is hot and foggy day represents that the temperature is cold. Here you see the climatic zones of India map. The red color represents hot and dry climate of the place. The yellow color represents warm and humid climate. Humid means the amount of moisture. Light yellow shows the composite climate. Composite climate are the weather conditions which are beyond the normal weather conditions. Pink color shows the temperate climate. Temperate means neither very hot nor very cold. And the blue color shows the places which have cold climate. Now we will learn what is climate. Climate is the average weather condition of a place over a long period of time. It is an average of 30 years and may change slightly from year to year. Now here when we talk about the average weather condition, the average weather condition includes the temperature, winds, precipitation, rainfall of an area. The climate in the Himalayan ranges is cold. The climate in and around Chennai is warm and humid, whereas it is hot and dry in the Thar desert. Now, we will learn about the factors that affect the climate. These factors are latitude, altitude, influence of the sea, relief and humidity. We will learn about these factors in detail. Now, due to these factors, different places in the world have different types of climate. The climate of a place affects the people living there in many ways. The clothes they wear, the food they eat, and types of houses they live in are all affected by the climate. The factors that determine the climate of a place are distance from the sea, distance from the equator, height above the sea level, winds, the amount of moisture in the air. We will learn about these factors in detail. First factor is latitude, that is distance from the equator. Latitude of a place decides what type of temperature that place will have. For example, if a place is near the equator, it will have a hot climate, whereas as we go towards the poles, the temperature starts decreasing. As you can see in the diagram, it shows the same amount of rays from the sun falling at different parts of the earth's surface. As you can see, the rays are direct or vertical at the equator. Here you can see this, and they are slanting at the poles. Hence, places near the equator get heated more than places near the poles. Different parts of the earth therefore receive different amounts of heat from the sun. Depending on the amount of heat received, there are 3 climatic or heat zones on the earth. Now we have 3 climatic zones on the earth. This was the first factor, latitude, which we discussed, which affects the climate of a place. Now we will discuss about the 3 heat zones. So the 3 heat zones on the earth are torrid zone. Here is the torrid zone, which is extremely hot as it's near the equator. Temperate zone, temperate means neither very hot nor very cold. Here you have the temperate zone between Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the north, and between equator and Tropic of Capricorn in the south. And then we have frigid zone, which is very cold. Now we will learn about the climatic zones in detail. First, the torrid zone. The area on both sides of the equator between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is called the torrid zone. The word torrid means extremely hot. As it lies near the equator, this zone receives the maximum heat. It is hot throughout the year here. Next, the temperate zones. The areas that lie between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere and the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere are called the temperate zones. This region has a mild climate. Mild climate means which is neither very hot nor very cold. Third is the frigid zones. The areas between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole in the northern hemisphere and between the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole in the southern hemisphere receive very little heat from the sun. They are very cold and large parts are covered with snow throughout the year. They are called the frigid zones. Earlier we discussed latitude, one of the factors which affects the climate. The second factor which affects the climate is height above the sea level. With the changing altitude, the temperature also changes. Children, have you ever visited a hill station? What kind of climate do you find over there? It is cool. You know that it is cooler up in the hills than in the plains. Even if two places are at the same distance away from the equator, the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. The peaks of the high mountains are covered with snow throughout the year. Thus, the higher a place is from the sea level, the cooler its climate. You can see in this diagram. Next factor is distance from the sea. Another important factor is the distance from the sea. See the diagram over here. The land which is near to the sea, here the land which is near to the sea will have a pleasant climate. Now why will that be so? This is because in the summer when the land gets very hot, then Cool breeze from the sea cools it down. As a result, it does not get very hot, but in the winters, the sea also gives warm breezes. Look at this diagram now. So, in the winter, when the land gets very cold, then warm air from the sea comes and warms the place. See this diagram, the warm air from the sea comes to the land and warms the place. So, it does not get very cold. So, the sea does not allow the place to be either very hot or very cold. As a result, places which are closer to the sea will have a pleasant sort of climate. Next factor is wind. Wind tend to flow in a particular direction in different parts of the world. They may be hot, cool, dry or full of moisture depending on where they come from. Now, how does wind differentiate between the climate of a place? Well, as you can see in the diagram, when the wind is coming from the sea, it is laden with moisture. And when it rises up and reaches the top of the mountain place, here the water in the air cools down and condenses and falls down as rainfall. So what happened is the air which is rising lost all its moisture at this point, and now as the air advances, it will not have any moisture in it. Now as the air is advancing, it does not have any moisture in it, it is dry air. As a result, the air flowing in this region is very dry and this area will not get any rainfall, and also it will become very dry. This is why some areas are very hot and dry and some areas get ample amount of rainfall. For example, the monsoon winds from the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea, you can see in this map, bring rain to large parts of India. The hot winds from Thar Desert make Delhi very hot during summer. Thus, the climate of an area is affected by the winds. Next factor is humidity. Humidity, you know, it is the amount of water vapor in the air. Now, how does it affect the climate? Humidity is the amount of water vapor in the air. It affects the climate of a place. The air over equator is laden with water vapor as the heat of the sun here causes rapid evaporation of the ocean waters. This causes heavy rain in the area. So, the climate near the equator is hot and wet. For example, in some places where the humidity is very high, what happens if the air has lot of moisture in it? It is not able to dry your sweat quickly because it is already filled with lot of moisture, and so you get sweaty. So places which have very high humidity usually have uncomfortable climate, and which are such places? Well, usually places which get a lot of air from the sea which is filled with water will have a humid climate. Now we will discuss internal questions. Which planet has the longest day? Take out page number 18, there you can write down this internal question. The answer will be Venus. Venus is the planet which has the longest day. Which planet has the shortest day? You can take out page number 18, there you will find, there you can write down the question. The answer will be Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet which has the shortest day. Now what caused the seasons? As we learnt, the revolution of the earth and its tilted axis caused the seasons. You can write this on page number 19. What caused the seasons? The answer is the revolution of the earth and its tilted axis caused the seasons. Now children, I will discuss the bookwork. The fixed path along which the earth revolves around the sun is called its orbit. We learned through the diagram that fixed path around which the earth is revolving around the sun, that is orbit. The part of the earth facing away from the sun has night. If the part of the earth is away from the sun, that will have night. The imaginary line along which the earth rotates is called its axis. Day and night on the earth are caused by the rotation of the earth, as we learned that rotation causes day and night. In the month of June, North Pole is tilted towards the sun. Now question number B, write true or false. The earth takes 24 hours to revolve around the sun. The statement is false. The hemisphere of the earth that is tilted away from the sun gets longer hours of sunlight. This statement is also false. The hemisphere of the earth that is away from the sunlight will have less hours of sunlight. When the North Pole is tilted towards the sun, the northern hemisphere has summer. The statement is true. When we have the North Pole towards the sun, the northern hemisphere has summer. When the northern hemisphere has day, the southern hemisphere has night. This statement is false, because when the North Pole is tilted towards the sun, the northern hemisphere has summer. So it receives less amount of sunlight. Now coming on to the multiple choice questions, we see the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. This happens because the earth spins on its axis. So over here C is the correct answer, because earth spins towards the east. When the North Pole is tilted towards the sun, the northern hemisphere has summer and the southern hemisphere has winter, as we learned through the diagram. The seasons are caused by revolution of the earth around the sun. So over here B is the correct answer. Seasons are caused due to the revolution of the earth. You are 10 years old today. You will be 11 after. Because the earth completes one revolution around the sun. The earth takes 1 year or 365 days to complete one revolution. Therefore, if you are 10 years old today, you will be 11 after the earth will complete one revolution around the sun. Now I will discuss the copy work. Again, orbit. The fixed path along which a planet rotates around the sun is called orbit. Question number 1. Why is 1 day and 1 night on the earth of 24 hours? 1 day and 1 night on the earth is of 24 hours because the earth completes one rotation around its axis in 24 hours. Earth completes one rotation around its axis in 24 hours. Therefore, we have 1 day and 1 night of 24 hours. How many different types of motions does the earth have? The earth has two types of motions, rotation and revolution. We learned that there are two types of motions, that is rotation which causes day and night and revolution which causes seasons. What is meant by rotation of the earth? What is the effect of rotation? The spinning motion of the earth on its own axis is called rotation. The rotation of the earth causes day and night. The spinning motion of the earth around its axis is called rotation, which causes day and night. In the month of June, it is summer in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. Why? It is so because in June, the North Pole is tilted towards the sun and the South Pole is tilted away from the sun. Therefore, in the month of June, there is summer in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. Why do the seasons repeat year after year? Now, why do seasons repeat year after year? It is because the seasons repeat due to revolution of the earth and its tilted axis. That is why we have seasons year after year. Now, you have to draw this diagram. Draw a diagram to show how days and nights are caused. Here you have sun, earth. Part of the earth which is facing towards the sun will have day, whereas the part of the earth which is away from the sun, that will have night. And as the earth will rotate, night will change to day and day will change to night. Complete your book work, copy work and write down the internal questions. Thank you.